Hey everybody, welcome back to the Resupply Recapitulation, where I, DK, review some old games and talk about little tricks and strategies that people might have missed on first watching. And today we have a treat. We're going to watch the finals from the 2024 Laserforce Internationals in Loveland, Colorado. As I film this, we are about a week and a half away from the 2025 internationals to be held in Brisbane, Australia. So I thought it'd be a good idea to go back and look at what happened in the last Nats. We'll start the video
Ladies
here.
and gentlemen, the tail of the tape. Really quickly, we have Slaughtermelon, Metalface, Snuffles, Thunder,
Hopefully
Mids,
everybody can kind
Chaser
of
on
hear
Cedar City,
the
Thunder,
commentary
Knuckle,
that's being
Big
offered by
First,
Guy Next Door in the
Mischief,
background
Ghost,
here.
Sergeant Tucker, Bromotype.
Just looking at the lineups for last year, two incredibly good teams that ended up going to finals. I feel really jealous that I missed out on finals when Cedar City beat us in the semis, but it was certainly well deserved by them. They threw a curveball at us. We did not respond very well. We played them very close all week, but end of the day, they managed to get one up on us. They went to finals, but super impressed with those guys. Obviously, several members of that team, Slaughtermelon, Snuffles, Thunder, were my teammates for US West, which won the 2023 internationals. So I have all the respect in the world for those guys. And then Metalface, Meds, and Chaser, all incredibly good players in their own right as well. Sort of a breakout tournament for both Metalface and Chaser. If not their first Nats, it's still relatively early in their career, and everybody has a lot of respect for Meds as a resupply as well. And then Loveland Phoenix putting out their heavy lineup of Mischief, Fear Turkey, Ghost, Sergeant Tucker, Bromatize, and Simply Okay. Certainly, I think the strongest team that Loveland has fielded to date. I made the comment to several of them going into this internationals that I thought they had, quote unquote, found the right six that they really needed to catapult themselves into a Nats winning roster, and that's exactly what they did. So not surprised that this ended up being their final lineup. They had, of course, Loki as a seventh, and no disrespect to him, but these six certainly are the cream of the crop in Loveland. One of the best teams that I've seen them put out, and I was not surprised at all to see them kind of change up their lineups in finals as well to put Mischief and Fear Turkey at 3 hits, which is what I believe to be their strongest lineup from the get-go. So we'll keep looking here at the intro to the game.
And Simply Okay. I haven't heard to see if anyone's subbed out for Loki. I would imagine this is the team that's sticking with. It's the team that gels the most. You never know though; they might give them a run. But two really talented teams. Maybe going into the week we had these teams near the top, but they've proven that they belong in this tournament right at the top of the list, and they're gonna both have a chance to contend for the belt. So strap yourselves in. This is gonna be epic.
Right.
Woo.
Well, I was wrong about the colours.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I have to look at the aftermath of our semifinal game where we got taken out, really stomped in the second game of the semifinal against Cedar City. But again, kudos to them. They came up with a great strategy to beat us. I wish, in fact, that we had used a strategy we're going to see Loveland do here in the finals, because I think it would have worked really well. It was something that I'd considered for a long while, and it's going to be one of my enduring regrets that we didn't try something a little bit different after we lost game one to Cedar City, but we were still definitely within striking distance. So I have some regrets that we didn't try something a little bit more radical in game two, but Loveland does, so let's see what they do.
So I've got no commentary on what's going to happen from here.
Well, look, I was kind of expecting the same, but
Rusty joining us on the commentary team. So we got Rusty, Scythe, and Guy Next Door, three very experienced, great commentators for the game. So I'll try not to pollute this too much with my own commentary, but I'll be pausing now and again to discuss some little interesting things.
you know, maybe the feeling is look that
They know the
Slaughtermelon
arena
can play.
better than us, man. So
Yeah, exactly.
they've clearly got something cooking. There's no way Mischief is on that team and they haven't come up with some sort of game plan.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the final referee check everyone to get into position, and then we'll.
I'm a little nervous for all these guys.
Are you?
Yeah. The finals are always a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know this about me, but apparently I'm a nervous peer. So I've been iron up.
Rusty is definitely right about the kind of nervous energy going into finals. Finals is a different beast, and it's one of the most rewarding experiences to be able to play in finals as a Space Marines player. One of the reasons that I'm so gutted that we missed out on it last year, but there have definitely been some special moments in the past. So even as a viewer, feeling that kind of nervous energy when you've been there, I'm not surprised at all.
That bathroom before this one gets underway. Ladies and gentlemen in chat, make sure you have a tasty beverage.
And here we have, look at what a nice dad Evol's being, making sure that Beans has his ref vest buckled before he goes upstairs. Good on you, Evol. That was nice since Beans' wrist was out of commission most of the week.
Liquid death, if you will. Whatever your poison is, get ready for a barnstormer. Let's go.
So again, no surprise here at the lineup that they chose. This is the same lineup that Loveland ran against us in the kind of finals qualifier, where we split games, but they beat us in game 2 by a lot more than we had beat them in game 1. So they had gone straight to the grand final. So Loveland had 0 losses up to this point in finals. They pretty much dominated the tournament going through the seedings. I think they lost 1 game in round play to Cedar City, so it's not as though Cedar City wasn't capable of beating them. And they lost 1 game to us in the kind of finals bracket. That was the qualifier for the finals. So I don't know what you call that, the quarterfinal, the semifinal, whatever it was. But we split games there. But I think those are the only 2 games that they lost all week. So Loveland had kind of dominated, and they were definitely favored to win here. Not surprised putting Mischief and Fear Turkey at 3 hits. I actually kind of thought earlier in the week that they might have swapped that, since Mischief had played heavy pretty much all week. They just hadn't really run the combination of him and Fear Turkey together at 3 hits, and we had seen, likewise, Fear Turkey play a couple Commander games, but the 2 of them together we hadn't really seen much of. So they could have maybe gone the other way, but this was certainly a different look that they give.
Trash making a good point there. They played 4 in a row. It looks like they got a little bit of a break.
So let's just kind of look here at some opening moves that they do. There are 2 kind of non-standard openings that both teams use in this game, which is interesting on its own because, hey, it's finals. Teams do quirky different things. So the quote-unquote standard play that you would see in Loveland would be both teams send their heavy to 3rd floor to duke it out. Red team is definitely going to get up to Fortress as quickly as possible. Green team, their resupply. They might hang out on the ramp. They might try to come up to chamber right away. They might kind of hang out a closet for a second. But usually both heavies are going to 3rd floor. Both commanders are going to 2nd floor. And the teams just kind of develop an equilibrium between them. Like you're trying to check the moves of the other team. But neither team does that move in this game. So you can see here, Cedar City, they send Snuffles up to 2nd. He gets up there very quickly, and you can see him with his gun here pointed straight across from Baja, which would be hitting about this point, just below chamber and what I believe they call trench. So he has a cross shot right over to this area at the top of the green ramp. This was a strategy that I had seen them use against Loveland B when they were playing them in the losers bracket. I was thinking they might use it against us, and I still didn't come up with a good way to beat it. I just told my team to watch out for it, but didn't really explain that in adequate detail. And now they're using it again against Loveland A, which, hey, it had worked twice before for them. So they send Snuffles up to 2nd, looking to get that cross shot for a couple of reasons. So one, he can get up to that point near Baja faster than most anybody can get to the top of green ramp. And if you don't get extremely low going through a trench, it is possible that someone can get a shot on you from Baja right there. So if green had sent their heavy up there, if Snuffles can get a hit on him as he gets to the top of green ramp and then just allow Slaughtermelon to come across the field into chamber, that will give them a pretty decisive advantage and will definitely give them the initiative early in the game. But I actually had a conversation with Snuffles the other day asking them what was their rationale for doing this particular strategy. Because the downside to this is that you're potentially pitting your commander against an enemy heavy, where they're not going to have the advantage in terms of firepower, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to either keep out the opposing heavy or to build specials as quickly as possible, which is what you want to do as a commander. But their thinking was essentially that they had been worried about their control of second floor when they lost the first game to us in finals. They had basically said they were allowing Dill specifically to farm way too many points on the second floor, especially when he had Sweets and myself as backup to kind of just pick off their other scouts. So that wasn't necessarily working super well for them. And if they were worried about keeping control of second floor, Snuffles is really confident on second floor. He's one of the best second floor players I've seen in Loveland, especially as a non-Loveland player. So having the heavy there, basically being almost a one-man wrecking crew and preventing the opposing team from getting any kind of foothold in Baja or Big Box and potentially constantly pushing them out of closet, that could be really strong as long as you have some kind of control over what happens on third floor. So they're counting on Slaughtermelon being able to handle the other heavy while they consolidate control of second floor. That seemed to work okay against Loveland B, and it definitely worked against us. We didn't respond to it appropriately. But Loveland, in their approach, they throw what I would describe as the perfect counter for this, where they send both of their 3 hits, which we'll see here momentarily.
That much. About like 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
So we see Fear Turkey and Mischief both booking it from chamber across to attack Fortress to try to get there to cut off everybody else before they get there. So they double rush their 3 hits on the third floor. This is a strong, aggressive move in the Loveland field, and it's definitely a move that teams should be prepared for. But I had a conversation with Fear Turkey about this just earlier today, actually, that this play is risky for a different reason. It's because you're potentially overcommitting resources to the third floor, and you might, in fact, lose control of second. You might let your resupply get backdoored. Having control of third floor is incredibly crucial in the Loveland field, but it's not everything. It's really difficult to explain or find the balancing act for how third floor operates there. Like, you need to have it because you can't let your enemy have it, but at the same time, you don't want to be spending all of your resources to only take control of third floor because there's a lot of other things that happen in the field. But we'll see what happens here.
Yeah. There you go. We didn't get to rest in Auckland, Traj. It's survival of the fittest.
So they get crossed up here. Slaughtermelon runs past and goes into chamber to try to immediately start fighting the enemy resup. When Mischief and Fear Turkey get to the other side, they manage to put down Caleb. They also manage to kick the resupply down the red ramp right here. That wouldn't necessarily be fatal on its own, but since they know they don't have to worry about fighting 2-3 hits, this is now going to allow Mischief to concentrate all of his firepower on the resupply, and now Fear Turkey can go back to defending third floor if he wants, so they have a little bit more flexibility. It is going to put a lot of pressure on Loveland's scouts to make sure that they're handling things on second floor. But the issue is, right, if Cedar City's resupply gets pushed downstairs right off the get-go, Snuffles is going to have to come back. Even if he completely wrecks shop on the second floor, he's going to have to come back for resources relatively quickly. And if his resupply is downstairs, he's going to have no choice but to go down after them. And that is going to completely surrender any kind of control of second or third floor to Loveland.
Gosh, seems like he's up.
So here we're going to see a play coming up. We saw that Slaughtermelon had come across, but he's just kind of sitting there. Here is where I would start calling this kind of a kind of stubborn play for Slaughtermelon right here, where he's just going to hang out and try to camp next to the enemy resupply to try to get them down and throw them off their game and potentially get some medikits and all that. This move can really work well against, I don't even want to say weaker teams, but against less experienced teams or teams where the resupply is a little bit less accustomed to operating independently, or they might have a tendency to panic early. This can work really well because it's intimidating to have a 3-hit just come in and camp right next to you because they're potentially going to kick you out and they're going to have resets on you for days. But if you look at what's happening on the game screen over here, Simply OK just is far too good an ammo to allow this kind of thing to happen, and it's just going to be able to use his team constantly for resets in order to keep Slaughtermelon down. So you see that he'll put down Sergeant Tucker. We'll go back and just look at the whole sequence here. A little bit. Okay, so
He
coming
didn't get
in,
to rest in Auckland
Slaughtermelon
Trad.
comes in. He
His
gets put down
survival
again by Fear
ability.
Turkey. Resupply crosses him up. So now we have Simply Okay. Manages to take one out of Slaughtermelon. He resets off Sergeant Tucker for the second hit.
Ghost
And
not
now all he
looking
has to do
enough
is
for
shoot
this one.
across. He shoots down Fear Turkey for the third hit. Okay, so now Slaughtermelon is down again. Slaughtermelon thus far has not shot anyone. He's been hit 5 times. He's on negative 100 right now. He's got no specials. We're only 24 seconds into the game, but that's not the opening that you want as commander. And I've made it clear, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Slaughtermelon. He's, I think, one of the best, if not the best commander in the U.S. currently. But I think even if you asked him if he could do this one over again, probably wouldn't do this. You get a little bit stubborn right here trying to kick out the enemy resupply, and just you lose too much ground, you lose too much momentum. So now, again, just using Fear Turkey as a cross shot here, he's got an extra reset whatever he needs it, because Fear Turkey knows he doesn't have to worry about fighting anybody. They've just kicked out the resupply. Mischief has already kicked the resupply all the way down at this point. They have total control of Fortress, which means that they can even pull their resupply over to Fortress if needed. I'm pretty sure that's what Mischief was yelling about a second or two ago on the camera, just to say, we have Fortress or they're going down. So they know they have an avenue of escape if they need it. This is really not a good situation for Cedar City. What kind of needs to happen here is, if they had done everything perfectly, Meds and Chase are going to have to go down, immediately book it over to the green side, come up the green ramp, and hope that Snuffles has managed to take that for them, and they do a kind of version of the board flip. They just have to go around the long way. But that requires a lot of coordination, a lot of trust in your team, and everything has to kind of go off without a hitch. The other problem is they're not going to be alone when they go downstairs.
Commander, Fear Turkey back and heavy.
Yeah, and here it almost manages to get Slaughtermelon a second shot where he's able to come in, but this actually ends up turning out even worse for him, even though he does manage to come back up.
Oh, yeah, he'd be really.
So last shot, he Simply Okay manages to mutual with him. So he had gotten 2 shots off of him using Fear Turkey as a reset, but now he gets mutualed. Problem is, now Slaughtermelon, he came up so he could get that shot against Simply Okay.
Really
So now this allows Fear Turkey to come in. Fear Turkey could not have done this if Slaughtermelon had not come up. If Simply Okay had kept him down again, this would have been a chase right here. But Slaughtermelon came up. It had been 2 seconds after that. So Fear Turkey is well within his rights to just come over here and kick Slaughtermelon out altogether. And that's pretty much going to end their opening attack. And it ultimately only netted Slaughtermelon 1 special point. So in looking at that, right, Mischief's already on 7, so he's 6 behind him, which isn't the end of the world. You can make that up pretty quickly. But in these high-level competitions, right, you don't want to be ceding too much ground or too much momentum to the enemy commander if you don't have to.
I mean, Slaughtermelon might have the same opinion. He is on negative 80 at the moment.
Oh, hey, he was on 100 points last time. I said he's not.
So we'll keep an eye on this. What's going on downstairs is now we see Ghost taking Meds down, getting a reset off of Chaser, and then getting a reset on Meds. If you're just watching kind of the action, keep an eye on what's going to happen with Meds' lives and take a look at what's happening with the action on Ghost, because there is a kind of hidden story here that doesn't really get talked about from the other commentators, and that isn't really captured on screen, but is absolutely crucial to the outcome of this game.
Not doing so great, and then he just absolutely shit on everyone. So let's see what happens. Let's see if you do the caster's blessing.
It's kind of the caster's curse, because Meds is at 13 lives here.
Yeah, you can hear what Scythe just said. At least I hope everybody heard that Meds is already down to 13 lives. We are 1 minute into the game. No nukes have gone off. So he has been shot 7 times just through happenstance in the game. Sergeant Tucker is still on 20. Not a good situation. I would say that the early game is essentially over at this point, because Loveland has managed to establish their control of the 3rd floor. Cedar City got forced down, and their resupply, if you adjust for the nuke that Mischief is going to get any second here, right, that's basically going to be half of Meds' lives. So we're definitely already coming into a sort of mid-game situation, because both teams have to adjust to what the other one has done, and we're only 1 minute into the game. Sometimes early game doesn't take very long. It proceeds to a mid-game situation where anything can happen relatively quickly.
1 minute into the game.
Knuckles 4 lives.
Incredulity from Rusty.
Yeah, this is.
Goodness me. Chaser on 8. They really need to take some resupply here.
Mischief.
And that's a tough order too, as Guy Next Door was saying. Chaser definitely does need to get lives. You cannot afford to have your ammo hovering low, especially early in the game when that early nuke might really disrupt things. But it's tough for him when you have a scout who knows the arena very well and who is very quick chasing you around downstairs. You don't want to sacrifice potential defense for the medic if you're the ammo, because worst case scenario, you might get put down, but you can at least call him out if he's coming around the corner and hope that your medic neutrals with him. That's not ideal. You don't want your medic to keep losing lives, but to constantly be getting resupplied and leave the medic like almost defenseless, you don't want that to happen either.
Mischief's got a nuke.
Okay, so we're about to watch what I would call the kind of most heroic sequence of the game here. Mischief got his nuke. You see him, he's running up here to the 3rd floor in order to let his nuke off. But pay attention here that we can see that Mischief has taken 1 pick off his shield from Metalface. So he's now on 2 hit points. He gets everybody down, but that's going to give him his 20th special point, runs back up there. But he has a pick out of his shield. He's only on 2 hit points. That's important. Slaughtermelon sees what had happened. He knows where Mischief went. He knows he's going to have to counterattack here, and he's looking to attack 3rd floor anyway, so watch what he's going to do.
Oh, the nukes is gone.
Okay, so Slaughtermelon sprints his way up the ramp. He hears the nuke going. Mischief, I think, starts the nuke sequence, or we're going to watch him. Yeah. So if we can see on the camera, so he started the nuke sequence as he comes into chamber here. We saw that Fear Turkey gets put down. Slaughtermelon gets a cross shot on him as he's going across to 3rd floor. So that's absolutely crucial right there. He gets the heavy down as he comes upstairs. He's now down to 1 hit point. Brahmatized gets 2 picks on Slaughtermelon's shield as he comes across here trying to run up to the 3rd floor. So this is almost foiled immediately by Brahmatized, but Thunder has his back. He managed to get Brahmatized down, so we have Slaughtermelon on 1 hit point. We have Mischief on 2 hit points. Comes around. Boom. There it is. Right there. Absolutely heroic nuke cancel. No regard for his own safety. Has to go charging in to try to get that nuke cancel. He knows the heavy's up there. He manages to get the heavy down since Fear Turkey had a pick out of his shield. He takes 2 picks out of his shield. He's only on 1 hit point. Anyone could have put him down, but unfortunately, Simply Okay and Slaughter and Sergeant Tucker were not in a position to be able to shoot him very well. He manages to come in. He gets that nuke cancel. Here, we'll watch it one more time because this is just craziness. Okay, Mischief gets the nuke. He runs up.
Oh, the nukes is
Here goes
gone.
Slaughtermelon.
Heavy's dead. Yep,
Going through, gets the shot, comes around, and
Oh,
boom.
Oh, you got resup.
Wow.
You got cancelled, yes.
So that was absolutely crazy. That is definitely one of like the most heroic things that I've seen in a finals game. So as much crap as I was giving Slaughtermelon earlier for getting a little stubborn there for hanging out with the resupply, that was as good a play as happens at any point during the finals. That's MVP caliber right there. And that gives his team a chance to win. Now, we did see here that Meds also managed to resupply Snuffles, but Snuffles had been on 3 lives before taking that resupply. So if that nuke drops and he doesn't take that resupply right there, Snuffles is dead, and that's going to be game over. There's no way that they can win without their heavy. So Slaughtermelon has given them at least the inkling of a chance now. You look at the scores, right? It has not really been a great opening for anybody on Cedar other than Thunder. Thunder's been doing work. He's on 920. So he's doing about as well as he could. But look at the other 2 scouts. We're at 1640 and 980 for Brahmatized. So scouts here doing a lot of work. Commander's winning their battle. Fear Turkey's in a lot better situation than Snuffles. So clear advantage to Loveland. But things aren't so dire with that nuke being canceled that Cedar doesn't have at least a chance to recover. It's just tough. It's tough.
Got him.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. That's huge. Clutch.
How the tables have turned.
Clutch and table turning
That
is
was
correct.
So much pressure. That was such a needed nuke cancel there. Slaughtermelon.
Snuffles did get resupplied too.
Yeah, he did.
Huge.
Goodness me, what a swing that was.
So now we're seeing a not terribly uncommon mid-game sort of scenario now where both teams have taken a big punch and they're now going to do a resources check. They're going to need to get some stuff. Because although Green Team's been in a great attack run, we have some resource problems here. We have Mischief here only on 7 shots, we have Ghost on 12 shots, and we have Fear Turkey on only 8 lives, 11 shots. So 3 of your principal attackers are all in need of resources of some kind. Bromatize is still in a great situation, but he's back here with Resupply. I think he's just gotten stuff. So he's in a position where he can at least go out and put some midfield pressure on. Obviously, for Cedar City, they're in need of a lot of resources, especially in the lives department. With Meds as low as he is, and with Slaughtermill on 6 lives, they need to be able to give some cover, and they need to set up some kind of resupply chain here. They're going to get a little bit of reprieve because they know Green Team's going to have to go back to replenish their resources, but they need to be quick and on it, and they need to be in a situation where they're setting a good defense downstairs in order to allow their 3 hits to get some of that resupply so that they have some kind of chance of punching back. And before too long, they're going to have to pick a ramp to go up and just launch their attack.
Game's still cranking. Slaughtermelon needs to get back to his resupply here. Down on 6 lives. Skirting that.
So Loveland plays about as well as I think you can expect a team to play in this situation. They know their arena incredibly well. If I had any kind of critique of how things were going, I think they waste a little bit too much time here, and they potentially cede a little bit too much field control. They really don't have a whole lot of people on the other side of the field. They do manage to send Fear Turkey back to Chamber, at least to watch that, and they can resupply him across the way. But both resupplies are kind of stuck here in Fortress. You have a scout here who's staying in Fortress to get resupplied. I would like to see Ghost probably at least move down to the half wall on the ramp to get resupplied there, so he's get a little bit more vision and gets a little bit closer to the action. Or you can just have him get resupplied at a little bit more of a distance. Potentially, you could also pull Simply Okay down the ramp a little bit so he can watch things and still give resupplies if Ghost gets over here in the corner, as long as he has Tucker call it. I saw Fan and Applesauce use this operation to great effect throughout the week, where they could resupply somebody while still keeping a watch out and still keeping some fire pressure on the other side. So if I had any one critique of Loveland, I would say maybe you can range out a little bit, exercise a little bit more field control here, but they have such an advantage right now. They don't have a lot of pressure, so they can afford to sit back a little bit.
Critical life. And he managed to get some. Well done.
He did.
Now Fair Turkey.
Crazy.
On his point of view, he's down on 7. He's going to need to go back and get some, but thankfully Mischief looks like he's in a good spot to put some more pressure on.
You'd be spewing. It's happened.
So it looks like Mischief has gone back downstairs at this point, is doing a little bit of work on them. Bromatize clearly was in the middle of an attack because he just got put down by both resupplies. Scout Chaser was not able to get meds, but meds still hurting on 11 lives.
Happens to the best of us, Mischief, don't worry.
Sure does. Fair Turkey manages to get lives there. I like the recovery here from Mischief.
On 11.
Going back and
Tucker
getting
hasn't
really
been
shot.
shot yet.
Guy Next Door mentions the recovery from Mischief, the recovery for Loveland. I remember reffing this game and seeing how they responded to that nuke cancel, because having your team's nuke cancel is a big dramatic moment that can really let the wind out of your sails in a game. But I saw the way they were playing, and they just kind of adjusted and said, okay, we lost a nuke. Everybody just kind of reset, get back to normal, keep your head in the game, keep playing your best game. And they didn't back down at all to that really bad reversal of fortune. And when I saw that happen and they still managed to keep control of third floor, they'd still managed to keep control over themselves, I was like, they got this. Like, Cedar City probably won't be able to beat them because they're able to respond in such a big way to such a kind of devastating event in the course of a game, and they still managed to pull it just fine.
It's crazy.
Tucker has not been shot.
Insane.
And just in pure points, yeah, Green's pumping.
Yeah. But again, you know, they don't necessarily have to win this. I mean, you want to win this match if you're Cedar. You just don't have to get beat real bad.
Josiah, is he going to get his... He needs lives. Josiah needs lives bad.
God.
Yep. Rusty mentions that Josiah needs lives pretty bad, so Fear Turkey was able to keep up some pretty aggressive play for a good chunk of this game, and he knows he can afford to range out a little bit more because he had forced them downstairs. They have pretty good field control, but this is a kind of dicey situation because you look at what's happened here. Now they did manage to get Snuffles upstairs on that nuke. So Slaughtermelon manages to get that one off. Snuffles gets the reset on Fear Turkey to take him down to 5 lives. So if they could get into a rhythm, now you see a lot of the Loveland people have been pushed back into Fortress. If Cedar City could have managed to get another attacker to big box, to red ramp, to start putting some pressure from that side, and they could allow Dallin to start coming across from Chamber into Fortress, while Fear Turkey really needs lives, that could go badly for Loveland if they don't respond in a very decisive way, or they just get a little panicked here momentarily, or if they're just facing pressure from two sides and they don't communicate effectively. Those are the kinds of things that will really break another team, but they just are unfortunately are not really in a position to respond to it. They don't have anyone in big box. They don't have anybody who's attacking from the bottom. So just kind of a lack of coordination. And unfortunately, right, you see here, you have some other red players, but they're coming. This has got to be their resupply. That must be Meds and Chaser that are looking to come back up.
Okay, down to 9. You really want to get that ammo top back up to around that 15, 16 mark.
Yep. Meds sent 6 lives, unfortunately, at 11:30.
Yeah, that was a massive chase. What was Snuffles thinking?
So yeah, here's another potential chase sequence that comes in that Rusty mentions. So we'll take a look at what happens. So anybody who's watching looking to get some reffing experience, let's review here exactly why this ends up being a penalty. Yep. Oh, okay, got to back up a little bit more than that, I think. All right, so we'll see what happens. Snuffles wandering around Chamber here. He's going to have this confrontation with Mischief. Okay, so Mischief goes down right here. Their paths are going to cross right in front of this line. So this line runs from here over to just outside of Chamber. So you will not be able to cross this line over here once Mischief goes through it. So their paths have already crossed. Mischief goes. He sets the other backtrack that goes on onto the green ramp, so that way he can go back into Chamber. Now he's into Chamber. Snuffles is down, so I think his brain just kind of glitches here, and he forgets what he's in for a moment. Mischief is now calling out to his teammates, saying that he's got both 3 hits upstairs. You got Fear Turkey looking over, so Fear Turkey knows what's going on. They're in an okay position to fight here, but look, we once again have all 4 3 hits on 3rd floor. So frantic battle for 3rd floor here in the mid-game. Cedar City needs to win this exchange in order to come back in the game. If they don't, that's going to be a problem for them. Okay, so Snuffles comes in. Yep, looking up to target Mischief right here. Now, Snuffles is off, but you don't have to be up to target so far as I know. And you see here, Snuffles is penalized because, yeah, he had crossed.
Unfortunately.
So, right, their paths crossed right in front of this green line over here. Mischief had come all the way into Chamber. Snuffles followed him past that line. He goes past the second line. So this is a very clear-cut example of a chase. Kodama nails him for it right there. So Snuffles just kind of not really being aware of the situation or forgetting himself for a moment manages to get a chase right there. So that's not going to be great for them. But Slaughtermelon does manage to get Mischief down here as well. So they at least have a slight advantage here. Right now, Slaughtermelon is going to be the only active 3 hit on the 3rd floor. The other 2 are going to be down. Snuffles had just gotten reset from a penalty, but he's still going to manage to come up before Mischief here. So they still have an opportunity to fight back because Mischief is now probably going to have to either retreat back to his own resupply, and they're just going to face them in kind of a straight line battle, or he can maybe go down to Closet, put a second angle on them.
11:30.
Yeah, he's going to choose the somewhat safer play of protecting his resupply, setting a long trail there, and going back, trusting that Fear Turkey is going to help him keep control of that area. And they can just kind of contest in a straight line battle across Chamber, but a lot of firepower that is being loaded up there.
Massive chase. What was Snuffles thinking?
He wasn't thinking, Rusty. That's what happens. Your monkey brain takes over. You want to shoot people. We've all had a dumb chase or two in our day, so it happens, Snuffles. I've been there. I've been on the receiving end of some really stupid chasing penalties, but you forget things.
Oh man, it's been a long day for them, a long week. They're playing at like what, 1, 2 a.m.
Crazy times, yeah. Like you said, the young man.
Yeah, here we have Slaughtermelon going directly after Mischief, making sure that he's not going to set a second angle on him. I think he doesn't want him to run into a corner and potentially nuke again, so he's just keeping very close track of exactly where it was that the Mischief was going.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, they're all undefeated.
Okay, and now Mischief is gonna decided to go back downstairs. It's like my resupply is fairly safe. I know I have 2, 3 hits that are upstairs, but I just have to trust the rest of my team to be able to handle that pressure while I go and kill the enemy medic, because the enemy medic is not going to be long for this world.
All under 40. Good benchmark.
Yeah, Slaughtermelon here doesn't really have any choice but to just continue the attack. They need to be able to take third floor, but it is and should be worrying to him that he has not seen his resupply. His resupply needs to be in position on the green ramp or in closet in order to take chamber and get back up to third floor once he and Snuffles take it. Because look, they got a good attack pattern. Now they are set up well. Look at this. You have Slaughtermelon who's going up here, is going to arrive in chamber. You have someone in big box finally, and you have another red attacker who's coming up the red ramp, while green resupply is going to be trapped here in the fortress. So red is very well set up for an attack, but the resupply is nowhere to be found. So even now, if you kick them from third floor, what do you do with it? You need to get your resupply up there so you can get some measure of field control. And just the reality is, the live situation, 15-3, even if you kick green here, it's probably not going to be enough.
Like every time I get older.
As yours goes up, so Mid's down to 3 lives here.
So one other note I would make here, it's interesting earlier in the game where Mischief went downstairs after he kicked the resupply the first time. He got one of his bases down there to give him his first nuke. He didn't end up getting the second base, though, which is a decision that puzzles me a little bit. If you're already downstairs, unless he truly believed he was going to need those 3 shots in order to continue the attack, I might have got the second base there to at least give yourself that padding in the race toward the first nuke and get yourself closer to that second nuke as well. Because he'd already have that second nuke if he'd had that other base. But you make split-second decisions. He might have seen the resupply go another way, wanted to make sure he kept pressure on them. Something might have had an upstairs that called him back. So things happen in the heat of the moment. I can't speak to what his rationale was there, but just if I'm analyzing this from what would the perfect decision have been, I might have wanted to already have that second base in the pocket just in case you end up fighting on the second or third floor for an extended period during the game. Why not make sure that you have both your bases taken care of if you've already gone downstairs once? You don't know the next time you're going to be down there.
Yeah. Mischief can get these 4 special points, go get the base, and he's at 20. Is he going to...
Okay, so now we finally have, I think, the red resupply. Looks like Chaser has come back onto red ramp. So they're getting ready to make a stand. They're getting ready to take Fortress. You have Fear Turkey is back. You have 3 guns that are looking to come up the ramp. You have someone who is in big box. And you have here, I'm pretty sure it was Slaughtermelon who is going to be fighting Fear Turkey. Who is that on third floor?
Did.
Oh no, you also have Snuffles who's up there. So they're committing so many resources toward taking Fortress right now. But this is not going to be a good situation because we see that Mischief has activated his nuke. That's going to end up taking out Meds. That's pretty much going to make it moot because even if they manage to take Fortress, you're not going to have the resources to do anything to sustain that attack.
There's the drop.
Yep.
And the detonate.
All right. So we're about 4.5 minutes into the game, 4 minutes, 34 seconds into the game. Meds is now dead. Looking at the life situation, we have 81 lives to 60 for green versus red. But, right, that's misleading because 15 of those lives belong to Sergeant Tucker, who is going to be able to resupply his team for the foreseeable future. Slaughtermelon doesn't even have 1 nuke right now, and he's going to need at least a couple to take out Sergeant Tucker. So that's really kind of it. The other thing that I wanted everybody to keep in mind and to watch carefully was Meds' life situation going up to here and what's happening with Ghost. You see Ghost here on 4,100 with only 1 base. Pretty serious scout score, and Bromley not behind as well. So Scout's absolutely doing work for Loveland in this game. And sometimes in these high-level competitions, that ends up being pretty serious. If your 3 hits are mostly going to cancel each other out, if your team has the advantage on Scouts, that's such an advantage for your team, and that team is almost certainly going to win if their scouts have a decisive advantage over the other ones, because you sacrifice way too much in the midfield if you don't have scouts who are really on it. But to give Ghost a little bit more love here, I checked the stats after this game. Ghost pumped meds for 11 lives, 11 medic hits in this game. Loveland was already in control of the field, but managing to get meds out this early, absolute death sentence for Cedar. So this is pretty much it. We're in an endgame situation, and it's going to be mop-up time. Green is going to have to pause. They're going to have to do a little bit of a resource check because Fear Turkey is a little bit low on lives. Brahmatize a little bit low on lives and shots. Mischief could probably cap up a little bit. He's going to need at least probably one double in order to make sure that he gets to the next nuke, maybe two. So not a whole lot of resources, but they're going to have to recap a little bit. But still, over 10 minutes remaining. You don't have a medic. It's going to be mop up time. There's not a whole lot the Cedar can do here.
This time.
Kills
Oh man,
meds
if
out.
that first nuke had gone off, this game would be over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, we're already over. I think they're already on them.
Huge amount of pressure.
Trash under 40. Geez, so young.
Knees creaking from here, mate.
Well, there's some nice.
So one bright spot here, if I back up a few seconds here, something that Cedar can hang their hat on is we're going to have a really nice sequence here by Chaser, still managing to do some work here in the mid game.
Geez, so young.
Knees creaking from here, mate.
So great feeling here to be able to keep a 3-hit down. So Chaser gets a hit off of Mischief, lays down, manages to get a reset on an enemy, manages to shoot down a deactivated Brahmatized, gets Mischief again, resupplies his own scout, then takes Mischief down for the 3rd hit. Love moments like that as an ammo. Makes you feel so effective. He's keeping control of Big Box here in the upper left. So even though Cedar is kind of doomed and they're fighting a long defeat, I still want to recognize some moments of great play from players, even in a losing effort. And that's a great play by Chaser. So great field awareness of him, great situational awareness of how to use the reset function to your advantage and how to turn being at a serious hit point disadvantage as an ammo against a commander into a kind of advantage, because now you're just going to be able to get your team a 480 point advantage. That's almost worth a missile, that whole sequence that just happened right there, because Chaser managed to get 400 points for his team and Green Team lost 80 points. So again, almost a missile in terms of how much of a difference that he's making to his team. So I just want to highlight that one.
Well, there's some nice resetting going on.
Yeah. Big wall of red.
Got him again. Another reset on Bromatize, another reset on Chaser. Finally, Ghost gets him down. Nice sequence from Slaughtermelon there, getting both 3 hits down, gets Ghost down. So Red's still putting up a fight. This is pretty crazy. Look at this positioning. You have 3 players over here that are under Fortress looking at Baja and the kind of backside of Big Box. You still have Green stacked up in Fortress. Again, as an ammo, I would love to be ranging out a little bit. Get Simply Okay down this ramp a little ways to put some kind of cross pressure going in to attack these guys. But they just have their attention completely occupied over here. But again, just if I'm making small little adjustments, if you pull one of your resupplies, ideally Simply Okay, down onto this ramp, so that way these guys have a second angle to deal with and can't just concentrate all their firepower at the top of Fortress, it's a lot harder for Red to pull this off, because the back of Big Box right there, this is an okay spot for defense when you have control of Red Ramp and Fortress. But if you don't have control of those areas, this can easily just turn into a coffin. It can be a shooting gallery. Here it's okay because he has some backup and has a 3rd player who's going to come back here. I think that's Thunder, who will be able to provide them some cover here once they come back up. But this is a rough situation to be in.
The no fear though, it's just like, yo, my medic's dead.
And we saw the hand check. Let's go back. Let's look at the hand check here.
I'd like to see the no fear though. It's just
Whoop,
like,
there goes the hand check. For sure that was Fear Turkey.
Yeah. Got unlimited shots.
I think they mutualed. Yeah, they mutual right here, Fear Turkey and Snuffle. So the hand check didn't completely work, but still cool to see. And I think Scythe even comments on it.
We good.
So, I couldn't see if that was. I think that was Caleb, hand check.
Yeah, but look at this counter pressure that they managed to put on here. A lot of guns here that are pointed at Slaughtermelon. So we had Sergeant Tucker get him, we had Ghost get him, we had Mischief get him. So everybody who's up here, even though they are kind of stacked together in Fortress, they know how to set a defense appropriately. They're not all just looking at their guns or staring at their resupply waiting to come back up. Because I can't stand it when I see teams do that, where someone is coming into resupply, they're facing the resupply rather than facing out, and they're just kind of looking at the floor, or they're crouching down, their gun is just pointed at the floor, waiting for themselves to come back up and to get resupplied. Even when you're deactivated, you should always be proactive as a player. You should always be looking for stuff to do to help your team. So Green is being very proactive about their defense here. They're not letting anybody just walk in, even though their players are being resupplied, and to put them down. But you see Slaughtermelon always keeping his eye out. He wants to make sure that at least one of those 3 hits gets down so he can come back in.
Hand checking.
And Thunder gave him an opening, right? Thunder managed to put 3 into Fear Turkey right here. So if Slaughtermelon can get his way in, quickly enough, he might get himself in a situation where he can shoot the resupply. But again, it's not going to be enough, but I still want to look for good plays when they happen.
Someone there, but on the opposite end, gets shot in the back for it.
He must out there for slow.
Gets a
Unfortunate
missile.
there.
So they are
It's the same thing
likely
happens to
going
Snuffles.
to get killed.
Again, they try to put in the 3-hit pressure, try to just come in here and disrupt them, but they get a lot of guns pointed at them. Yeah, Snuffles comes in, he gets one person down, but he gets shot like 4 or 5 times in a row right there.
Out of this game, the points deficit is pretty massive. So, Green Team have put themselves in the driver's seat firmly in the first game of this match. Slowing him out on at 23 special points. Look for him to drop his nuke.
Poor Bromatize, running through the field, has to eat a missile from Slaughtermelon going across 3rd floor, eats another missile from Snuffles here. But hey, if you're as a scout, you're like, if they're missling me, they're not missling my medic. So I guess I'll take it. Just under 9 minutes remaining in the game. We'll do kind of a quick status check here. So again, plenty of lives for Green Team. The only person who's in any kind of danger right now is Mischief, but not that much danger. He's still got 9 lives. Slaughtermelon has another nuke, but he's only on 5 lives himself, so he needs to get that nuke off and put on some more pressure. It's going to be too much. Snuffles is down to 1 life. He's not going to be able to provide much counter pressure now either, so at least he managed to get that missile off on Bromatize to give themselves a little bit more in terms of resources for the game. Now you need to be thinking, as Cedar City, okay, we're going to lose this game. How do we mitigate the damage to give ourselves a chance in game 2? Well, one thing that you need to make sure you do is get your bases. Notice here right now, you got Snuffles on no bases. He's on 1 life. You got Metalface on no bases. He's got 10 lives. He's got plenty. He can go do that resource chase. Thunder, a little bit better position. Got 14 lives, but again, no bases. Chaser's still missing a base. You need to get your bases if you're Cedar in this situation. You're going to have a losing effort. You want to make that deficit as small as possible going into game 2 in order to give yourself a chance. It is absolutely essential that all remaining players get their bases in order to close that gap as quickly as they can. Snuffles here is going to have to make sure he gets his bases.
Look at that though. Sergeant Tucker's still got 14 lives.
This provides them the opportunity right here. So if you're on red team, you hear a friendly nuke in this scenario. If you haven't got your bases, now's your best opportunity to do that. Yeah, you'd like to go in. You'd like to be able to go in. You'd like to be able to bust up Loveland as much as you can. But there's not, I think, going to be any higher EV play, expected value play, than to make sure that you get your bases off the back of this nuke, because that is, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7,000 points that you could make up here in a matter of seconds, because you will be able to get the bases. The other team won't be able to do anything to stop you. I don't see any attack they could possibly launch on Green Team now that is going to be worth more than 7,000 points in expected value.
Yep, still topped up.
Yeah.
Okay, Snuffles, very smart. As soon as that nuke detonates, goes for the bases.
Not that you
Best
want
opportunity
but,
for Snuffles to
Green
make sure
Team
that he
are in
gets
a
those.
situation where they could ease off the pressure a little bit, go get some resupply, and then spend the next kind of 6 minutes hunting. But
Okay, Snuffles managed to do it on 1 life. Underrated play. The commentators do not mention this at any point. I mean, there's 100 things to watch. The heavy going to get bases is not very exciting in terms of game points. But going from 1 life to getting those 2,000 points, that's absolutely crucial. That is such a high value play that it's difficult to recognize how important that is in a losing effort. If Snuffles gets eliminated without getting those bases, that's a huge hole to come back from, especially because this was not a real big scoring game from him. He just managed to make up 2,500 points in an otherwise pretty mediocre game in a matter of seconds by getting that missile on Bromatized and getting those bases on a single life. Absolutely great effort by Snuffles there.
I don't think it's their style. I don't think that they're going to do that.
No, they're probably just gonna do their normal Loveland thing and just go low, maybe crit sometimes. But
Okay, Scythe made a comment here about doing the normal Loveland style of they'll go low, maybe go crit. And prior to this tournament, I would have definitely agreed with Scythe that was kind of the MO of Loveland. And what I always thought was one of their weaknesses, just as a team, just as a site, was not managing their resources in the mid game particularly well and allowing their attackers to get too low such that they can't handle a counterattack in kind of the mid late or late game that ended up being their undoing in a couple of different tournaments. But I think they mostly got that under control this week. They still played a very aggressive style, but by and large, you weren't seeing guys go down to 4 lives, 5 lives. Fear Turkey got himself down real low at one point in this game, but he was never in a situation where he was far away from his resupply and he didn't know where they were. So it's a little bit more excusable, and he was able to control a lot of space. So yeah, that was kind of a typical Loveland tactic for years. But I thought it was interesting hearing Scythe mention that. But I think that they largely solved their mid-game problems in this tournament in particular. And I could almost fast forward here to the end of this game because it's just down to mop up at this point. There's not a whole lot else they can do.
Best friend against best friend.
It'd be great if Slaughtermelon could get to another nuke off of 4 lives, but that's pretty tough. It would help if he stays close to the ammo to utilize the reset function as much as possible. So he and Snuffles would probably be wise to stick fairly close to Chaser to put up some version of a wall. It's not going to be a wall that lasts very long since Chaser's down to his last life. Snuffles is only on 1 life. But anything you can do to kind of extend the game a little bit, to put yourself in a situation where you have 2 guns going up against 1 and potentially then to have your 3 hits get resupplied so they're not going to lose those lives. Just small little things, even if it only nets you 300 points here, 400 points there, that might be crucial going into a second game.
Torch of playing hide and seek champion.
Notice here again, Metalface got himself down to 6 lives. He's basically on full shots, but he's nowhere near those bases. Again, he's not on any bases. Chaser's down to 1 life. He's only got 1 base at this point. He really needs to get that second base as well, but he's worried about refilling Slaughtermelon and making sure that he gets resupped. And Fear Turkey manages to take him out right there. So Chaser, he's going to be 1k in the hole off of that. So missing out on that base, not a great situation for Cedar either.
I mean, they've definitely gone a bit of time, but
You kind of want them to go and get their bases in that instance. I mean, they might be trying to, it might be too much pressure, but
Yeah, what did I just say, guy next door? Come on.
Bases, you know, really doesn't help the points deficit. It's really gonna hinder and
Metalface now down to 2 lives. Has not got either of the bases. He waited way too long, especially because it's brutal. In Loveland, you can go from 15 lives down to 5 as a scout so fast if you just put yourself in a rough sequence, you get missiled, anything like that. So, Brett, when you absolutely need those bases, you got to be on it.
for them to try and pull this next match back, next game back.
I've also done Motor Survival online. It's been around
Forever. Jean shorts.
Okay, Thunder managed to get his bases. Thunder actually pulling out a pretty respectable score, all things considered here. On 5,300, 8 minutes into the game. So if his team was in a better situation, this could be a real big game from Thunder. That's a pretty impressive score that early on. Unfortunately, he's about the only person on his team who really had an outstanding game. Although I should mention here, looking at the Commanders, despite how big of a lead Mischief got up to, Slaughtermelon essentially has equaled him, and maybe even a little bit more since he had one of his nukes canceled. So pretty good effort from Slaughtermelon here. A losing effort, but pretty good effort.
Metalface on 1 life. I don't think he's going to risk going to get the bases.
He has to. He has to risk getting the bases. Okay, gets 1.
Oh, no, man. You get a base.
Good to see him go get the other one.
Yeah, went for the second one, but Mischief manages to get him. Huge play by Mischief there. Also, something that goes by the wayside. It's a single tag that happens in the balance of an entire game, but that tag is super consequential. That tag wasn't worth 100 points. That tag was worth 1,100 points because it denies them from getting another base. That's going to pad their advantage even more. Right? See, right now the score looks pretty close, but look how many more bases Red has. Very few people on green even have their bases yet, and they can probably get them awarded at this point. So Red down to 3 players. They don't have an ammo, so their 3 hits aren't going to be able to reset their shields. They're not long for this world. Thunder's going to be running around for a little while. Thunder doing a good job trying to close the gap. Again, any advantage you can get, going 2 for 1 against an enemy 3 hit, that's something that you should try to do as a scout. The game is never over till it's over, and the match is never over till it's over. Oh, that's
We
not
see
so
a
good. Getting
massive
missiled, though.
point swing here at the end of this
Rough.
as Green Team are awarded all of their bases.
Yep. Yeah, rough game. Rough game for Red, man. Even with that
Consider-
See Mischief here taking no chances. Up to 20 specials, but the person who put him down was Snuffles. He does not want to get another nuke canceled. He was going as far away from him as he can.
there was a new
Just couldn't.
cancel in there. Yeah, that's.
Yep,
Nice Mischief.
and here it goes. This is going to be it.
Just gonna get the 2-piece instead of 3-piece. But a crazy game there for Loveland Phoenix.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 of
Yeah, look at this right here. 11 medic hits for Ghost. So all that kind of work that Slaughtermelon was trying to do early in the game to disrupt their resupply, it unfortunately did not net him any medic hits. So again, you're looking for something to review for next time. Probably lingered trying to attack the resupply a little bit too long. Maybe should have been working a little bit more on field control and making sure that his team was set up to launch a more sustained attack rather than trying to go for that quick knockout punch. Because it's really tough when you're playing another highly competent team to just put their resupply in a fluster. Especially nowadays, among elite teams, you don't find resupplies that crack that easily.
match 1 goes to Loveland Phoenix, and they are firmly in control of their own destiny here. They've got one.
Yep. Guy next door mentions firmly in control of their whole destiny. So if we look at, they'll put the graphic up on the screen here in just a minute, but this gives Loveland an advantage of 18,643 points going into game 2. Now, this has struck me interestingly enough. I'm like, if there's one weakness in the way that we structure tournaments sometimes, it's that, well, if somebody has a big win in game 1 of a match, it's really, really hard for somebody to come back in game 2 to potentially win. And it seems like the team that has that big win, they don't have to do very much other than just survive the second game. But then I sat down and thought about that for a minute. I'm like, well, that's true in basically every sport. Yeah, if an NBA team is ahead by 30 at halftime, they're probably going to win the game. That's a big advantage. It's not going to be that dramatic. If a team in the NFL is up by 3 touchdowns going into halftime, they're probably going to win the game. But nonetheless, things happen. We've seen it happen. We've seen a Super Bowl team blow a lead of 21-3 at halftime. When the stakes are at their highest, sometimes weird things happen. Teams launch crazy comebacks. I was part of a comeback in 2023, if I haven't mentioned that a couple hundred times by now. But that was a rather different situation. We were down like 7K going into game 2. They're down over 18.5K going into game 2. That's a pretty big difference. If you're only down by 7K, pretty much any elim you get on the opposing team is going to give you a win. Here, not only do they have to eliminate the enemy team, they have to completely smash them to make up that additional 8,600 points. And you see how crucial that is, right? That could have only been 15,000 points they were behind. Those 3 bases that they end up losing, that only compounds their miseries here. Now, 15.5K is still a pretty big deficit to come down from, but I'd feel a little bit more comfortable going into game 2 with a 15K deficit versus an 18K deficit. You wouldn't think that 3,000 points is a lot, but when you're very closely matched against an enemy team, it really is. 3,000 points is so many.
One hand on the belt. One hand. And they'll be looking to place
I dread to ask where the other hand
around
is.
it and
Guy next
collectively
door.
wear that belt to championship land.
I make fun as though I'm doing any kind of hard job and he's been commentating for like 11 hours constantly.
Still the same old bracket.
I almost out of voice and we're not even the second game of the match yet.
It was crazy considering that the nuke gets canceled, and unfortunately, Med's just losing, hemorrhaging lives, even though
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that Scythe just mentioned right there is that, yeah, Cedar got the fortuitous nuke cancel that could have reversed fortunes early game, but yeah, Med's absolutely hemorrhaging lives, and it's so tough. Meds, I think, is genuinely one of the best medics that I have seen, especially when his team has the advantage. He's an incredibly good medic at pressing the advantage. But when they're on the back foot, like he's a very good medic, but I wouldn't necessarily rate his evasion skills as being like his best asset. His asset is being a calm, organized player, helping out his team on the back line, communicating, and helping them push their advantage. He picks up a lot of cheap resets when he's in a good position to do so. So part of the way that you beat that is you don't let the medic get into that kind of scenario where they can just operate at will. So tough bit for him, hemorrhaging those lives, especially to Ghost. So good on Ghost. If I had to name an MVP for game one, I would probably sign it to Ghost, and then a strong honorable mention for Slaughtermelon, putting up as valiant a defense as he did, getting that nuke cancel, and what I would say was definitely the play of the game. But if you look at the performances on balance, absolutely crucial performance from Ghost here, getting those 11 lives. It meant that his 3 hits didn't have to do nearly as much, and meant that that nuke cancel didn't turn into any kind of disaster for them.
Saving Grace nuke cancel, but it still wasn't enough to help kind of Cedar City overcome the obstacle there.
Yeah, usually there's a bigger swing when there's a nuke cancel like that.
Yeah.
But it just shows how dominant that lineup is. I was a bit scratching my head a little seeing Luke playing Commander, but it makes sense having Josiah play heavy. It looks like Ghost is really good at scout in that arena too. So.
Yeah.
All important things Rusty just said. That there's not really any cracks in that lineup for Loveland.
He's so fast.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like a young 2K King, or like Leech, or even like a Beast.
Apt comparison, I think.
Seemed, you never seem frantic, Beast. You always just seem so in control.
He is a very unique playstyle, that guy.
Yeah.
I wish I got a chance to play against Beast more times than I did.
He moves quick enough to get where he needs to be at the right time, and that's all he needs to do. And he walks out and he's not even sweating. It's bullshit.
yeah, it's not fair. As a portly gentleman, not fair.
Yep. So here we see the differential. And among other things, right now, Loveland Phoenix is going into Red Side, where they were 10-0. Red Side turned out to be the stronger side in this year, in last year's Loveland Nats. Again, I think that played properly, I think their green side actually could be stronger, but it is tougher to play it properly, and the data flies in the face of what I'm saying. So I'm just wrong. Red side is clearly stronger.
Chat, you might well be about to see the last game of Laserforce Space Marines 5 Internationals 2024.
Yeah, with due respect to Cedar City in this scenario, this game looks more like a coronation than it does a competition. With that 18-6 advantage, can Cedar overcome that? Can they close that gap? It's possible, but it's really tough. It is akin to being down like 21-3 in the Super Bowl, or being down 30 points at halftime in an NBA game. Is it theoretically possible to come back from that? Sure. We've seen it happen. Is it likely to happen? Nah, probably not.
Brought to you by Liquid Death. Let's see some freaking hype in chat. Let me know what you think is about to happen. Who you think should be maybe MVP of this tournament. Maybe don't air your grievances. All celebration, all hype, all whatever positivity you got, chuck it in chat right now, and let's get this thing kicking. I'd hate to cut to an ad.
Get the Bobby Knight chair throwing emojis out. Let's go.
Look at all the refs are doing the end of tournament week walk right now. There's a definite waddle that's happening. The way a lot of these refs are moving up the ramp.
Run us through these teams as lightning fast as you can, as I can see the refs are getting into position.
Yeah, so Loveland Phoenix here we got Mission.
Look at those teams. I would note that just from a kind of talent standpoint, if you look at what is the level of competition of the 12 players who are in finals, this is a pretty stacked lineup. Like this year, 2023, 2019, I think of like going back to the old days of like 2007 in Oakley, where legends were walking the earth, and it was, all the heavy hitters, Mental, Rusty, Tragedy, Fredo, all of those kinds of guys. Like just from a talent standpoint, having these 12 players in the arena together duking out in finals is just awesome, man. I'd love to see how high level competition is now, how many excellent and elite level players we have now. We're really spoiled as far as things go.
Okay.
I really love how much a
Cedar
lot of
City,
these guys have
Sentinels, we
advanced,
have
and I've seen
Slaughtermelon
all
who
of these
face
players
Snuffles,
blossom from
Thunder, Meds, and
being
Tracer.
rookies to
And
being the
really, as you
true
kind of
elites
saw
of the
the
game.
last game, you have it really being spearheaded by the Fear Turkey, the attack for Loveland Phoenix, and Ghost, the scout there, doing work in that middle part of the game.
Agree with that.
For Cedar City, I mean, you get the nuke going your way, but unfortunately, they lost a ton of lives trying to get out of dodge. But valiant effort by Slaughtermelon and Snuffles to try to limit some of that damage, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough in game one. So we'll look to see if they can bounce back in game two.
Huge. You look at the refs here, look pretty high. What were you going to say?
Thanks. See me orchestrating, getting all the refs in position. Playing in finals is really fun. Reffing finals is not nearly as fun.
Right there. Well, we're underway, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
All right. Let's see if they can get them up there quick enough. I've done this a few times this week.
Yeah, up and down. All week.
So if we look at the openings here, definitely a little bit more of, I would say, a standard opening move from Loveland in particular, where they do send Mischief on the second floor. He immediately starts fighting with Snuffles, so they again send Snuffles to second floor. They're going to send Slaughtermelon to third, but a little bit more of a standard opening where they send Fear Turkey to third floor. You see that Fear Turkey manages to get the opening shot on Slaughtermelon. So it doesn't have a problem there. It looks like Loveland is going to have kind of an advantage on the third floor. I think the thinking is, again, make sure that Cedar gets control of second so that they can get their attackers in a good position. But we'll see relatively early on the advantage or the risky downside to sending your commander to go 1v1 versus the heavy on the third floor. And I mean, I should mention here, too, that Loveland also can opt for a standard opening because they have the advantage here. Loveland doesn't have to do anything other than not even survive, just keep it close. Like if they get all their bases and they just play basic laser tag and are going head to head with Cedar, they'll probably they can win the match anyway with as big a point advantage as they have. But they have to not do stupid things. So part one of not doing stupid things is, hey, don't do fancy play syndrome. Just play the way that you know you can play well and count on being able to outplay the other team. When you're the home team and when you've won game one of the match, you have that ability. You have that advantage. Yeah, you saw Snuffles here came all the way into big box. He did manage to put the opposing resupply down. So if they'd gotten in a scenario where Slaughtermelon could have got in, he could have managed to kick them all the way back down red. If they have control of big box on green, that could have been a way to disrupt them pretty early. But it's so tough to get past the enemy heavy, especially an enemy heavy like Fear Turkey. So that's just, even for a commander as great as Slaughtermelon is, that's really hard to go 1v1 in that situation. But you see they get crossed up here. Fear Turkey has put him down, and he's now going to be sitting in chamber. But now Slaughtermelon can set a path on him, and he can go toward Fortress. Let's see what happens. Again, backtracks his way into Fortress. He's now alone here with the two resupplies, but look at this frantic series of shots. So Sergeant Tucker shoots Slaughtermelon, Simply OK shoots Slaughtermelon. Sergeant Tucker uses Simply OK as a resupply and manages to get Slaughtermelon down again. Now, you can say, like, in standard situations, quote-unquote, that the ammo should be the one who's taking that second shot. One, because they benefit a little bit more from getting the extra special point, and two, because you want the medic in a situation where they can set a path if they need to. But here in the early game, I don't mind it so much because you do want to make sure that you get your ammo up to full as quickly as possible. And you know, if you're only facing 1 3-hit here, you can, again, still use your own 3-hit for a resupply if you need to, and they could backtrack. They also know that Fear Turkey has gone to chamber, so if they need to, they would just board flip to use the parlance that Loveland tends to use, and they could just retreat to chamber if they absolutely need to, and Tucker probably won't lose more than 1 or 2 lives. Again, Slaughtermelon just hanging out. So he does manage to get a medic hit right there, but because the resupply stays proactive, they both keep their guns pointed at him, it's really tough for Slaughtermelon to be able to get both of them down. Because, right, even though Simply OK had been reset by Tucker here, he's still going to come up first. So he's going to get one shot on Slaughtermelon before he even comes up. Slaughtermelon come up, If he mutuals with the medic, that's going to put him down to 1 hit point. Simply Okay should be able to get the last hit on him, if not 2 hits, even if Slaughtermelon, even if Sergeant Tucker misses that shot. As long as they keep their guns on him, the resupply stays active and stay proactive and shooting down that 3 hit. Even a single 3 hit is probably not enough to break the resupply. So here we're going to watch Slaughtermelon get a little stubborn again.
3 up meds.
So he goes back a little
They're
bit.
stuck in the closet.
So he backtracks here again to make sure that Fear Turkey can't get in on him. But again, he already had a path. He had never come up. Or no, sorry, he did come up. So he did have to set that path. My bad. So he had to set a path there on Fear Turkey. So that's actually pretty good awareness from Slaughtermelon. But I still think it would have been better just to duck out at this point, because look at this whole resupply chain, or this whole reset chain that you have going on. Again, Simply Okay, just using Fear Turkey for resets to keep Slaughtermelon down. Resupply Sergeant Tucker again. I probably would have waited a couple seconds in that scenario, because you could also wait for Tucker to come back up to get a shot on Slaughtermelon and then put him down, so it manages to overlap their save time a little bit more. But that's a very, very small adjustment.
So you kind of see them, they get kicked out of the closet there.
Just Slaughtermelon just chilling there in Fortress. Getting...
So for all that trouble, so Slaughtermelon managed to get 2 special points. It's about 48 seconds into the game. Managed to take 1 life off Tucker, but just not a real great success there. He needed a second attacker. If he could get someone else to be putting pressure either coming up on red side so that they have another person to worry about, and especially if he could have gotten Snuffles all the way over here to the chamber side in order to be fighting it out with Fear Turkey, so Fear Turkey can't just come back and mess with him at will, that strategy might have worked out. But he doesn't have enough help, and it goes on a little bit too long. So another not terribly great opening, unfortunately, for Slaughtermelon there, but really great play from the Loveland resupply. Resupply sometimes is not the fanciest, most exciting moves in the world, but you really do need to have a proactive and intelligent resupply to hold things down effectively. And that was just great play from the both of them.
Smashed. He did manage to get a couple of medikits though.
Yeah, Tucker here waits to see if he can get another reset on Slaughtermelon to keep him down over there in chamber. But he might have wanted to retreat a little bit before that. But there's a good chance he was probably going to eat a shot there anyway, since Simply Okay couldn't have reset him there. So might as well go for at least getting 1 shot out of Slaughtermelon. If you're going to lose life in that scenario anyway. But it's not a good situation to be in when you're 1v1 with the commander and you're playing medic. But he knows he can retreat to Fortress. No big deal. No drama. Doesn't manage to eat a resupply. Doesn't eat a reset there. So no biggie.
Getting out of the closet and then coming back down. I would like to see them kind of just regroup here and have Snuffles take some resupply. Try to go up and assault Fortress. But we'll see what they do here as they have Caleb up there still attacking.
So here's what I would describe as pretty good job doing field control for Loveland. They have Fear Turkey over at Chamber. That gives him the distance to backtrack to Fortress if he needs to, and it manages to keep anyone else from coming up the green ramp side, since he can use them for a reset to then keep Slaughtermelon down indefinitely. You have Resupply holding down Fortress. You have another scout who's patrolling from the red ramp side going up to Baja in order to make sure that they keep red ramp and big box clear. So pretty good deployment from Loveland here, I would say.
Well, they just need to not
get
eliminated, right?
Now they get Ghost going up to 2nd floor as well. So now they're going to be able to spread out a lot more effectively. If you're on red in this scenario, you have Fortress, you have Chamber, and you either have control of big box or at the very least are not allowing the enemy to have control of big box, you have field control. Green is not going to be able to hurt you very effectively because all of your players are going to have at least 1 hallway worth of backtrack length. There's not going to be a scenario where you're going to get a broken play right off the bat, because they can retreat to halfway down the ramp now. They can retreat to Chamber. They can spread out. They can move across 3rd floor. They can do whatever they want. So they have the initiative.
So as long as they survive, they win. So they don't have to take too many risks. Which is what we should have done in Auckland.
Yeah, here's where I think you see some much more good proactive play from Simply Okay. Not sticking next to Sergeant Tucker, but making sure that he spreads out across the 3rd floor here Tucker's just backing him up. Tucker should also be making sure that he's keeping an eye on the bottom here to make sure they don't get backdoored, but is also trusting his team. Had both Bromatized and Ghost go in a second. He's got to trust that someone will be watching there in big box and give him a heads up if anyone is going to crash up the red ramp side.
I'm sorry, I just all of a sudden a bunch of salt dumped in my lap.
It's alright, I'm almost over it.
Rusty will be over it when the tournament's starting in Brisbane. He's like, okay, now.
So a side note on that one, again to bring up the 2023 finals, but I'm sorry that it still bothers you, Rusty, but it is more satisfying that it does bother you even after the fact, because it's the same thing with me. 2017 still bothers me about losing the way that we did, and any finals that I've lost, you go back and you dwell on it, and like I don't want to engage in schadenfreude, but it does make it kind of better when you win that your opponent, that you know that your opponent tried as hard as they could. So you're not really taking like joy in their loss. It's just, okay, I know they gave me their all. If it still bothers them that they lost after the fact, obviously they cared about it too. So it makes the victory meaningful. Like they didn't just give up or give it to you. And same thing I think applies to this finals as well.
Yeah, exactly right.
No, I'm still not over double nuking in Melbourne in 2006. So some things I just don't get over it.
Just doing a quick check-in situation here. Mischief almost up to $2,000 here. Slaughtermelon hasn't quite hit 1,000 on his own yet. Mischief is again ahead of him in the early game. 7 specials ahead at 20 to 13. So Loveland now has the advantage. They can launch a nuke if and when they want it. Dangerous situation for Slaughtermelon because he lost those additional 3 or 4 lives trying to establish that attack early on. If Mischief nukes early, that could really end things very quickly here.
They've set up real.
Oh no, he gets reset.
Real nicely here, Loveland A. Mischief with the nuke. Good.
No.
Okay, so here's where the nuke goes off. Here, I think, great example of field control from Loveland. Notice the control of third floor. They have Tucker in Fortress, watching, and able to set a backtrack length on that ramp if they need. They have Simply OK in the middle of the third floor, so he can float in between Fortress and Chamber. He can be looking for enemies to shoot on the second floor. He can be resupplying and resetting his 3-hit shield. He can move seamlessly in between those areas. You have your Heavy is now guarding your commander, so they're not going to end up in a situation where they get canceled again. You have your commander about to let off a nuke, and you have one of your players here who's going to cover second floor as well. So great control of third floor, great control of the ramps.
Drop there in the chamber. Yep. Giving everyone a sweet look at how to drop a nuke.
Yeah, good control here of red ramp side as well, where you get, I think that's Bromatized, who's here jumping up on red ramp. Ref, can we get a dangerous play call here? Oh no, that was Mischief. Bad boy, Mischief, with your ramp jumps.
Chasing that first nuke.
Yeah.
A lot of good cross shots from Mischief there. You can see he picked up a couple of easy resets on the enemy scouts shooting from red ramp over toward closet side. So always something you got to be mindful of.
It's such a stark contrast. I mean, it looked like he was focusing at the start of that game on purely just trying to get the medic hits. He stood there and he took a bunch of shots just to convert into 2 medic hits. So hasn't really paid off because Tucker hasn't had any pressure mounting on him throughout this game.
Yeah, we're a little over 3 minutes in now. Not quite as bad for Cedar City as it was the first game, but notice again, 15 lives for Sergeant Tucker to 8 for Meds. Now, there's an adjustment of 3 because obviously Slaughtermelon hasn't nuked and Mischief has, but even so, right? Mischief is maintaining the advantage in terms of the lead of points. He's working his way toward his second nuke. Slaughtermelon's just got his first now. That'll bring Tucker down to 12, but still 12 to 8 this stage in the game, pretty good advantage, especially because notice you got 3 lives on Snuffles, you got 8 lives on Thunder. That's pretty unusual, right? Thunder is a player who almost always is staying above 10 lives, so he must have gotten trapped or overextended a little bit.
It's down to 15 now, but you look at Meds down 8 lives already. Snuffles sitting on 3 lives. Crit manages to take one, but they had.
All right, we got something coming up here. I want to give a little bit of medic love here. Let's watch what Sergeant Tucker does. Medic play isn't commented on enough, so let's give the medic some love. Watch this.
As we've seen, downstairs is lava for most teams.
Okay, Tucker, good proactive medic, knows his whole team has control of this side of the field, so he makes his way from chamber. No one is here at closet. He's got a life advantage. They have the ability to press their advantage if they so choose. So he's going to come down from green ramp side, look over across, and manages to get another good shot right there on Slaughtermelon. Good example of field control and good proactive medic play there. So great job. Great play from Sergeant Tucker right there to extend a little bit, which you don't always want to do as medic, but if you have a medic who has the ability to contribute to just a little bit more of that offense and a little bit more of that field control, it unlocks so many more things for your team. So great analysis of the game situation there, and great analysis and great understanding of the live situation from Sergeant Tucker, that he knows he can take that risk and provide just a little bit more of cover.
It's so much harder when you're trying to regroup down there, and it's like just nothing seems like it's going your way.
Yeah.
When it happens. It seems like red is everywhere when you're downstairs, but they're really not. It's just kind of one or two players bouncing you around.
Another nuke from Mischief coming. I know. No.
Okay, so Slaughtermelon lets off his nuke there, and
One
Rusty.
single digits.
Yeah, Rusty just mentions that not one person goes to single digits. So this is again what I'm talking about with resource management. Not only had Red managed to keep their attack pressed, they have meds down to 6 lives, but they were doing a good job of taking easy resupplies when they could get them, so that even when they have a counter punch thrown at them right here, not one of them goes to single digits. The lowest person is Tucker, who can't regain lives. Fisher gets down to 12, that's fine. He's heavy, and he's in a situation where he can recover lives fairly easily. But, right, that's not going to relieve that much pressure on Cedar City, because they also could have a counter nuke thrown at them. Mischief has managed to get up to his second nuke before Caleb really got much of the way to getting his second. He's a full nuke ahead of him right now.
You know what's rough there?
They're just so comfortable upstairs across that third floor.
Yeah, what Guy Next Door said here is pretty crucial. One of the ways that they know that they have control of the game, they're going to be able to keep control of the game, is they have their resources concentrated toward making sure they maintain third floor and have both options open to them. They can go to Fortress or they can go to Chamber, and they can shift in between them as needed, as much as they need to based on how Cedar attacks. So this was the same kind of defense they had set up against us in the game where we barely beat them. Just, it's so hard to crack them off of that third floor when you're constantly having to run up one ramp or another. It's very difficult.
He's gonna nuke now, I reckon.
Yeah, he drops it. A little bit of a delay.
Again, great defensive screen here. They are going to make sure that Mischief is not going to lose any nukes here. So that's gonna end up taking out meds.
No. It's a little bit of a delay. Like a half
No, I'm sorry.
second,
He gets down to 3.
I was like, what is he doing? Okay.
Got him.
Other than Metal Face, though, honestly, not a terrible situation for Cedar in terms of their live situation. Slaughtermelon and Snuffles in particular, they have enough lives to launch a counterattack now, especially since they know Red has just let off a nuke, and there's no way that Mischief has a third one in the pocket right now. They actually do have enough resources to launch some kind of attack, and if they're going to try to counter, now is the time. The truth is, even at this point in the game, the match is probably lost. If you were going to overcome an 18k deficit, it would have to be by punching the other team early and preventing them from getting a lot of their bases. Like, you have to take out the ammo early or the heavy early, something like that, before they have any kind of chance to really set up their game. But, right, even with the point situation as it is, this is probably over. Even if Red somehow did manage to get eliminated, I don't think there's going to be enough of a difference. But still, interesting things can happen in the game, and let's just comment on the interesting things that do happen.
Man, massive trolling of the commentary team.
I would have loved to have seen him step out and look at us directly in the camera. That would be great.
And they just get shot
nuke
by
and they get-
Snuffles.
Yeah, I was gonna say just get shot and be like, oops. Meds here down to 2.
Goodness me, Mischief is...
And yeah, look at the live situation over here. We have Fear Turkey completely full in the mid game. This is a nightmare scenario. If you ever let the enemy heavy get to full in the mid game, you've not been putting enough pressure on them, because they can really go out and wreck you. A heavy with maximum resources is such a terrifying prospect to face. So, like I mentioned, Snuffles and Slaughtermelon have enough to kind of launch an attack, but do they have enough to overcome a heavy who's completely full and a commander who's completely full on lives? Probably not. So if you were looking at the win percentage graph, if you look at the match overall, like Loveland is 99% to win this match, and they're hefty favorites to win this game as well.
Yeah, a couple
Overwhelming
of round ahead of
favorites.
Slaughtermelon at this point in the game, and Mids looks like he's not long for this match.
Yep, and who launches the killing blow but Ghost? How fitting that he manages to take him out from the tournament. So we're now at the point where Meds dies in the game. That's it, really. So not just for the match, but probably for this game as well. There's just not a lot of paths to victory, even just for this game, and they're already behind. So you got to be thinking that it's probably just not your game, and you're fighting a long defeat, and that's not a fun situation to be in. It is one of the worst feelings in the world to be like, there's probably not any way we can win this, and we're probably going to get eliminated from the tournament, but we got to play out the rest of this game.
Everyone's still on decent amount of lives.
Yeah.
So coming up here, we are going to see there is a last-ditch effort that's made. You can start to see green congregate here around Closet. They are going to make a last-ditch effort to try to capture upstairs, to do something in this game. At least go out in a blaze of glory. So they're getting people positioned. They're loading up on Closet. Here comes another player coming up green ramp. But look at what they're facing over here in Chamber. They're going to have Fear Turkey. They're going to have Simply Okay here. Again, not sticking next to the medic, not just hanging back in Chamber staring at the wall, but out, proactive, ready to take shots, telling Fear Turkey what's happening.
Go drop.
He's going out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, so there is a real scenario here in which, right, they're set up well enough over here at Closet that if they can get their attackers in place when Slaughtermelon's nuke drops, they have a chance to kick them from there. But what's the problem with that? Look at what's happening over at Fortress. Nothing. Red could just retreat to Fortress even if they lose Chamber. So it's good that Green is attempting to launch kind of a last-ditch effort at capturing some space, but they need somebody on the other side as well. Red has control of the red ramp side, so they need to kick somebody off of there if they're going to have any chance, because they don't want them to be able to retreat to Fortress just at will.
I mean, Bromatize is still out, still putting pressure on Slaughtermelon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No reprieve.
This is now is not the time to die as a scout.
Okay, so now we're going to have what I would call the revenge play that happens here. And we gave Slaughtermelon a lot of love in the first game for his new cancel. Notice what's going to happen here with this exchange. So Ghost took one out of Slaughtermelon. He is now on 2 hit points. That's pretty crucial. Mischief manages to missile Snuffles. Slaughtermelon activates the nuke. Mischief takes it away from him.
Oh, and he gets it.
So he gets that, manages to put down Slaughtermelon. And now not only has that ruined your attack, but right, you get the revenge cancel. That really takes the wind out of the sails of Green. So great play by Mischief right there.
Yeah.
Gets another hit on Snuffles.
Yeah.
Fear Turkey, missile Snuffles.
Mischief got the.
Then you have Mischief, missile Slaughtermelon. And Ghost gets the 3rd tap on him as well. So that's a 3 life loss there on Slaughtermelon, even though he managed to mutual with him once. So what a sequence from Mischief to get off 2 missiles and a nuke cancel, and then to have Ghost get that kind of triplicate hit to take a 3rd life off of Slaughtermelon. Absolute devastation. Great sequence for Loveland. Great sequence for Mischief. That was a very, very high-level play. So if I had to award an MVP in this game, game 1 I gave it to Ghost. This game, definitely give it to Mischief. Absolutely dominant performance here as commander. You can see he has almost double a score of Slaughtermelon in this game.
He got sweet revenge.
I mean, he was put under so much.
Right, and the other thing that had happened here is we also had Bromatized down to 3 lives. If that nuke had gone off, we'd back up just slightly here. So right, we had Bromatized on 3 lives as Slaughtermelon goes to activate the nuke when the cancel happens. The question here is, if Bromatized does die here, to what extent is this still a game? I still don't
Yeah.
think it's really much of a game.
No,
It definitely
he
hurts
used
Loveland
yeah, Mischief got
to
the
potentially be
diffuser.
down a player here in an end game scenario, but
He could
it's
sweet,
still
sweet,
probably a
sweet, sweet
foregone
revenge.
conclusion that
I
Loveland
mean,
has this
he was
thing.
put
It might
under
just
so
take him a
much
little
pressure
bit
that he had
longer.
3 players around him and still decided to pull that nuke and just didn't work out for him.
What could you do? You had to do something.
Well, he had to do something.
Had to.
Yeah. Total reversal of fortune, though. Once Slaughterman gets that nuke canceled, he and Snuffles both eat a missile. Slaughterman's gone from like 18 lives down to 11 in a real hurry. Snuffles is down to 3. Thunder's down to 3. They didn't manage to launch that counterattack, so just complete reversal of fortune, too. They were set up at Closet, maybe could have taken third if that nuke had managed to go off, giving themselves a fighting chance to come back at least a little bit, especially if they were going to have the advantage of one player, but probably still not enough, in my opinion.
Do something, yeah, absolutely. Bronty's gone back and he's now up to 6 lives.
It really is just kind of mob up at this
I don't
point.
want to get ahead of myself, but it looks like
Not watching Big Box there. That player in Big Box managed to get a couple good shots. I think that's Metal
it's coming
Face.
home.
It looks like it's coming home to the States.
It was already in the
Not
States.
coming home to Detroit, unfortunately. But
USA.
We'll see if Brisbane can confiscate the belt from us temporarily. Temporarily, of course. I bet it'll shift back to the States next time we have a tournament over here.
Tasked with trying to beat the top seed in 2 matches straight.
very true.
It's pretty difficult. Pretty difficult. I felt pretty good in 2017 that we at least forced that final match when we came back from the losers bracket to face Brisbane, but it's really hard to beat the top team 2 matches in a row.
Definitely know that all too well. It is so difficult, and it's like you get the one win, and then you kind of think about like, hey, do we switch anything? Do we keep it up? Are they gonna switch anything? You start playing the mind games in your head.
Hope everybody heard that. Really good advice from Scythe about approaching the game and the kind of mental toughness it takes to get over the finish line. Just to make sure like you don't get complacent. And I saw that same thing with Loveland. I remember after the first game where they had handled Cedar City pretty handily, I still heard Fear Turkey telling on his team, he said, I don't want to see anybody celebrating right now. We still have another game to play. So get your suits back on and get back in there. And like, allow yourself to enjoy the victory for a minute there, bro. But you're absolutely right. You have a job to finish and you can't rest on your laurels. It just, the pressure is insane. Even as the team who has the advantage, right? You don't want to blow that lead. That is the worst feeling in the world. And obviously they didn't. They're in.
Not on the opposite.
They just
side
have to
of
close
the
it out now.
maps, at least from the Detroit standpoint.
Loveland A on the cleanup here, and they will be taking this home. It's a shame we don't have a microphone in the arena, but we will leave the cameras out and see if we can catch what happens here. In fact,
this is when I'd be screaming at my team to run, probably. Finish it out, finish it out. But they, of course, don't need the elimination to win this game. That was the issue for us in 23, is that we were racing against the clock. We needed the elim to win. Loveland doesn't need the elim here. They could just sit on their hands the rest of the game if they want to.
Beans might be grabbing the chamber cam here. I think he was going to look to
Hey, Beans.
follow cam. You can see him eyeing it up.
It's like your next door cam when you see a squirrel looking in it.
We've been trying to tee something up, something special for the end of this. It hasn't worked out, but we'll get the next
Jeez, another missile on Slaughtermelon there. Just absolutely dominant performance from Mischief in the final game here. Sometimes it happens that you just hit the right game at the right time. One of the best games I think I've seen Mischief play in his whole playing career, and what a time to do it. Great job by him. And great job by the whole Loveland team, honestly. Get those bases. There you go, Chaser. 2 for 1. Not bad.
coming down to
Well played,
chasing Chaser.
Loveland Phoenix.
The ammo, the last person left alive.
Yeah, one more hit for Tucker.
Ladies
Always
and
nice to
gentlemen in
get that
chat,
hit as a medic.
please get ready.
Pretty serious, like good score from Sergeant Tucker here. I mean, no bases on 1900s. That's going to be almost 4K in adjusted score getting the bases. That's in a high level competition game. Getting 4K as a medic, that's pretty dang good.
Absolutely hectic. Your 2024 Laserforce Internationals.
And Tucker, bound down, having a moment there. I know the feeling well. I know Scythe knows the the feeling well as well. When you get over that hurdle, you finally have that kind of emotional release, that emotional come down. It's a beautiful feeling.
Are in fact
Here goes the
home
beans
team,
cam.
Loveland Phoenix.
Yeah, great job here. So looking at MVPs for this game, Mischief, almost a 30 MVP game, 30-point MVP game, which, I mean, you see in round play all the time, especially when you're facing weaker teams, but managed to get all of his missiles off, 4 medic hits, great hit differential, fantastic game by him. So definitely going to take Mischief as my MVP for game 2 of the finals.
Chat up with hype. Let's go, baby. What an absolute massive win for this young team. They've been working for, I mean, they've shed for 10 years at this point to try and take this one home. And you can see what it means. I think that's Sergeant Tucker there on Switchback. I think he might have just broke down.
Got a nice hug here between two either current or former champions with Disco Stu and Sergeant Tucker there. Got some celebration here happening.
Look at them.
Hug it out, guys.
Celebrate. I'll tell you what, let's switch across to
Big smiles from Mischief. Like I said, great job in that game. You guys deserved it. That was a fun rewatch. I've been rambling here for probably a couple hours at this point, but thanks for rewatching that game with me, guys. I'm really looking forward to Nats 2025 coming up in just a little over a week. We're hoping to drop this video as a substitute for our resupply show this week, but then we'll be back on the air to talk to everybody live during Internationals in Brisbane. Thanks for watching, folks. Always remember to backtrack, and I'll see you next time.